My name is Scott Feltz, and this is my final presentation. What it'll be looking at is if there's any connection between niacin supplementation and post-exercise lactate acid levels. Um, the reason I want to look into this is because in today's sports and athletic community, you're always looking for something that will give you an edge. Performance is a huge thing, and people always want to do their best. And I believe that niacin could have a role to play in that. So what I'll be doing is going over what direction or what relationship there is, and what the research says, and what research needs to be done. So what I want to look at is how niacin supplementation will interact in the body with lactic acid levels. As of right now, there is no direct relationship between the two. There's no research out there showing any. And that's because the relationship between the two isn't really direct. It's kind of an indirect relationship. What I want to look at is niacin and how that is a precursor for NAD+, and how the breakdown of lactic acid, which turns into pyruvate and NAD+, work with each other. My theory is that by increasing niacin, you can increase your NAD+ levels in your blood, and when your body recognizes that, it'll think that it can break down lactic acid faster since there's that excess. So the research that does support this is we know niacin is a precursor for NAD+. There's been multiple studies and research designs that have showed that. That is pretty inconclusive. What it also shows is how we get niacin. Niacin is very common in foods. All your green leafy vegetables have it. It's in all of your cereals. If you read the back of one of your cereal boxes, you'll see niacin on there, or vitamin B3 as it's also known. One study showed that 95% of Americans, if they eat cereal, receive their daily value that way. It's just so common now because of the importance it plays. We know that NAD plus is important because it acts as a carrier for different protons through, and it carries different protons through permeable cell membranes. It's also important in a lot of the different metabolic processes. Some studies have showed that the heart actually uses NAD plus directly as energy. So there's tons of stuff out there that shows not only the importance of niacin, but shows the importance of NAD plus. So that side of the research is pretty clear. We also know that lactic acid is throughout the body when we exercise. And previous research always pointed to lactic acid as being a bad thing. You would hear people say, oh, I can't finish that because my lactic acid threshold is too low. Or people would wake up after exercise the next day and say, oh, well, I'm stiff because of the lactic acid buildup. More research is being done to discredit that. Research is starting to show that lactic acid is actually beneficial to the exercising muscles. We know that it can be broken down into pyruvate and NAD+. We know that it's actually, or some studies have showed it's actually not at its highest level after exercise. One study showed that they used baseball players and pitchers, and they simulated a game. They had them throw 10 pitches to simulate an inning. They tested blood lactate, and then they threw another 10. They did that 10 times to throw 100 pitches, which is about the average for a starting pitcher in the major leagues. And what this research showed is that lactic acid levels were actually at their highest around the 70 pitch mark. So this kind of shows that in some people, that lactic acid breakdown actually becomes higher and overtakes lactic acid production during exercise. And so this kind of starts to discredit some of those old rumors that, oh, it's lactic acid that's causing the pain and stuff like that. But with all this research, there's no real research that relates the two. So what I want to look at is, if I know that niacin will increase NAD plus, and I know that lactic acid, it can be broken down into pyruvate and NAD plus, is there any connection between an increase in NAD plus, and will that increase trigger the body to create or break down lactic acid faster? To do so, you can run multiple tests. It'll be really important to control, especially the diet, the type of exercise, and the frequency of exercise, just to make sure you don't have any outside factors like extra niacin in their diet, or just a increase in lactic threshold by working out too much or more than the other groups are. And so I believe that with a very controlled exercise regimen and a very controlled research design, that you can take away the other factors that may be decreasing or increasing lactic acid and truly concentrate on that indirect relationship between niacin and lactic acid. I think that if anything can be found, it can really open up more doors for more research and hopefully give a new training aid to athletes that are looking for something. That's what I want to look at. I do believe it can happen, and I hope to be able to look for any connection and any true results.